Me personally, I would keep Brian and Parisa. Y'all, they are a hot mess. There is no way they would win that money if all of the challenges are based on relationships and knowing your partner. Like, hi everyone, my name is Dimitri. Welcome back to Dimitri to Bachelor in Paradise, night 6. Let's talk about it. As always, if you're enjoying my videos, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. I'm a growing YouTuber and like subscribes really help me out. This video is probably gonna be kind of short because there really just is not that much to talk about. And just one quick thing before we get started, the contestants are now competing for $500,000, which we're gonna talk about more later in the video, but the stakes do not feel like $500,000 is at stake. ABC has effectively turned this into a game show, but after the game, the episode just felt like any other episode. It truly didn't feel like money was at stake. It just felt like a regular Bachelor episode. And now that it's a game show, I don't know. I just feel like it should at least feel a little different. And let me know in the comments how y'all feel about this. But just personally, if this effectively turned into a game show and $500,000 is on the line, I would move completely differently. Like, for example, Parisa at the end of the episode was being very insecure and very needy in terms of her relationship, and like I just didn't get it. Like, why are you acting like this? Like, we need to focus on staying on the show, but you're focused on like Brian not giving you enough attention in the moment. Like, what? $500,000 is on the line. And I felt the same about Leia too. Leia was kind of getting upset at Jonathan because Jonathan doesn't know where he's at, and I'm like, who cares? You have an opportunity to compete for $500,000, and if he's not your partner, you don't have another option. So make the best of the situation, become better friends with him, and try to win some money. Like, who cares if you don't date him at the end of this? And then you have Kim, who's interested in Faith, and he was like, I don't care about the money. I'm only interested in getting to know Faith more, which is very noble, but it's just weird when ABC presents a game show for a lot of money and one of the contestants is immediately like, oh, I don't care about the money. Like, it's just, I don't know. Adding the money into the mix is weird. And yes, money does corrupt, because you see how I admitted, I was like, I would move differently if $500,000 is on the line. This is just my opinion. So the people on this beach have not even been here 2 weeks. I think they said they had been there 11 or 12 days. So for me personally, if I had a chance at finding love, great. But if I had a chance at $500,000, that would be more of a priority to me than finding love. And don't get me wrong, after taxes, it's going to be like $250,000. And then if 2 people win, they got to split it. But still, $125,000 is like life-changing money. And even more is that this group doesn't even seem to care that much about winning. So this could actually be the easiest money of your life. Okay, that's all I got. Let's dive into the episode. First, we're going to talk about the rose ceremony, and we're going to talk about like a few random things I just saw in like the intro. Gary is getting like the hot commodity edit this season. I hate to say this, I don't know why, but also he's basking in it a little too much for me. Next, what are your thoughts on Kat and Dale at this point? Please put it below in the comments. I feel like Kat and Dale are just not going to work in the real world. So I don't have anything to prove it. It's just a feeling I have. But like, Dale just does not seem genuine to me. I feel like Dale just tells women what they want to hear, and he doesn't always mean it. But again, I can't prove this, but it's just a feeling I have. Next, we're gonna talk about Parisa more later in the video. But y'all, I'm having a really tough time trusting her, because if you noticed, during the rose ceremony, Brian chose Parisa to get her rose, and this was after he apparently had the tantrum, and I think she was talking about it earlier in this episode. But when she got picked, she was so excited to get that rose, and it was giving pick me. It was like, girl, did this man not have a tantrum and cause you all this heartache? Now you're so excited to get his rose. Like, what's really going on here? Next, is it Alicia or Alicia? If you know, put it below in the comments. And lastly, there were no upsets during the rose ceremony. Everything was expected, except Natasha got eliminated, and she just looked silly. Like, last week she gave Gary her rose instead of like that tall guy who was actually interested in her. And now Gary's giving his rose to Leslie. Like, we didn't see Natasha all week. Like, she played herself. Like, I truly think she thought she was gonna get more of a storyline than she actually did. Moving on, after the rose ceremony, Jesse Palmer announces that this show is turning into a game show, show, and the contestants have a chance to win $500,000. And for the first game, they play a game of high or low, but with relationship questions. And this was the most interesting part of the episode. After this was the cocktail party, and that was probably the worst cocktail party I've ever seen. Watching people kind of like beg and plead Bailey to stay on the show just was not it for me. But ABC was building it up like it was a big decision for Bailey, and it was so serious for the couples, but it really wasn't. So just a few things about the game. First, Spencer, and I don't know why I can't remember his girlfriend's name. Is it Lexi? Sorry, they never show them, so now I'm struggling. I'm pretty sure it's Lexi though. So Spencer and Lexi, in theory, should have won because they've been a couple since day one, so they should have been getting to know each other, but they didn't win. And in their defense, they didn't lose by much. Like, they were pretty high up, but they didn't win. Next, apparently Faith spends no more than $25 a month on beauty maintenance, which I call cap. Don't get me wrong, that's possible, but what do we consider beauty maintenance? So I consider the gym beauty maintenance, but a lot of people would consider that health, and like a gym membership alone most likely is more than $25 a month. And let me know below in the comments, how much is makeup nowadays? I guess if you're not doing a full beat every day, it's probably not too expensive, but I have no idea how much it is, so let me know below in the comments. Next, what is this obsession with body count? One of the questions was like, is their body count higher or low? Like, what is the obsession with body count? Like, you see this on the internet a lot too, and I'm just tired of hearing about it, honestly. And lastly, Gary stacked a lot of chips on a question and he got it wrong, and him and, is it Faith or was he with Leslie? I think whoever he was with, they were close to the top, and because he put a lot of chips and guessed that question wrong, it put him in the bottom, so now they're up for elimination. Okay, so let's talk about Bailey and Jeremy first. They ended up being the winners of the game. Jeremy had one question and he ended up betting most of his chips and he got the question right, so they blew everyone out of the water and won the game. And Bailey was turned on because Jeremy was such a risk taker. And I don't know if y'all caught this, but there was one moment where Jeremy, I think he was talking to another contestant and he said, "I'm tired of the Goldens monologues," and that was so funny. So don't get me wrong, I'm very patient and I'm a good listener, but I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to people and they just go on, and in my head I'm just like, can we get to the punchline? Can we get to the point? Can we move on? Like, you're dragging this out. Like, for this YouTube channel, if I don't get to the punchlines quick enough, y'all gonna click off the video or unsubscribe, and while you're at it, go ahead and pound that like button for the YouTube algorithm. So because Bailey and Jeremy won the challenge, they got to have a personal date. It was like a fireworks date, and they also get to be in charge of who goes home this week, with Bailey being ultimately in charge because women have the roses, but clearly Jeremy can be like a sphere of influence. In a confessional, Bailey said this was the best date she ever had on the show and in the real world, and like, that was kind of wild to me because like, watching fireworks, like, so they do fireworks for free annually here at least twice a year. Like, this is your first time viewing fireworks with someone? Like, it was wild to me this was the best date she's ever had. And don't get me wrong, fireworks can be like a cute and I guess romantic date, but y'all, every Memorial Day weekend and July 4th weekend, for me, fireworks, it's just a nice backdrop to me and my friends drinking. Like, oh, the backdrop's a little nicer than normal. Like, it's really not a big deal to me, but whatever. I'm not gonna ruin Bailey's fantasy. It was her best date. I believe her. Next, as an audience, knowing what we know, it's really tough to root for Jeremy and Bailey as a couple. We as an audience know that Jeremy said he should have gotten rid of Susie, and he tried to backtrack and call her and get her back on the island, and it didn't work. And we as an audience know this, but Bailey doesn't. And Bailey seems to be into him, and she seems to be liking him more and more, and watching that happen is just tougher because we know the backdrop. And what made it even worse for me was when they had their one-on-one date, Jeremy even says like, the more he gets to know someone and the more time he spends with them or whatever, the more into that person becomes and the more attracted, which makes it even worse, because if that's what happens with you, you could have stuck with Bailey and said forget Susie. Again, knowing what we know, it almost like watching that was almost like, it just made it worse. And then later on in the episode, we find out that Jeremy is in this for the money and he is very competitive. But in all seriousness, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, I would act in a similar way and I would get more competitive and more strategic. This is like life-changing money. Like, forget finding love. And again, these are people you've only been hanging out with for maybe almost 2 weeks. And the only thing that doesn't make sense to me is like, clearly if Jeremy tells Bailey it's gonna be better than if Brian Brian tells her, but like, what is Jeremy waiting for? Because when he called Susie, he was on camera. Like, did he not think he was on camera? So I understand when he talked to Brian in their hotel room, he probably thought he was off mic. But when he called Susie, that's my only explanation, is maybe he truly thought he was off camera at that point. But anywho, from the previews, it looks like Bailey finds out next week, so we'll wait and see what happened. And the last thing I want to say about this is like, y'all, this is truly terrible what's happening to Bailey, but also at the same time, this is the only good storyline. Like, there are truly no other good storylines this season. And again, I'm not saying what he's doing is okay, but I am saying, like, if this wasn't happening, we basically would not have a show. Next, let's talk about Jonathan and Leia really quickly. So Kat is talking to Jonathan, and Jonathan tells her that him and Leia are just friends. So then Kat goes behind his back to talk to Leia and lets Leia know that Jonathan is only interested in a friendship, and Leia had no idea. And then Leia confronts Jonathan, and it becomes this whole mess. Now, if y'all didn't know, Kat is a Gemini, and all of this is retaliation for what Jonathan did earlier in the season. When Jonathan had that conversation with Jeremy and Dale said he wanted to like take Alicia on a date or something. I don't remember what the drama was, what he said, but Jonathan went and told Kat about that and started drama. This is clearly Kat just retaliating from that. Next, Leia did too much in this situation. So Leia confronts Jonathan and was like, I had no idea we were just friends. And then Jonathan is like, yeah, right now I only see us as friends. I'm not sure if something more can come from it. And then like Leia pushes, and it's like, Leia, what else do you want? He doesn't see anything romantic right now, and maybe something romantic can come along later. Like, what else can he tell you? And Leia specifically got upset because Jonathan said, I can finally relax because of you. Which, to me, Jonathan clearly meant that now that he has a rose, he doesn't have to worry about getting kicked off the show. Like, I took that as nothing romantic, and I'm still confused as to how Leia took that as romance, or maybe it's like a producer just pushing her to be messy. I don't know. But personally, I thought Leia was doing too much. And for the last couple, let's talk about Brian and Parisa. So Parisa is upset for a good chunk of the episode because she is not sure where her relationship is at with Brian. Now, is Parisa insecure, or is Brian moving funny? I don't know. We do not see enough of them on this show to truly make a determination. If you disagree, put it below in the comments. So there was one point where Parisa was at the bar and Brian, I think, was talking to Kat about plastic surgery, and there was no room for her at the bar, and Brian did not make room, and this really upset her. And then I think she went to one of the pool chairs and looked upset to like try to get Brian's attention. So again, I don't know. Is Parisa insecure, or is Brian just an unaware bro? It could be either at this point. But one thing I do know is that them as a couple, they are clearly not on the same page. So during the cocktail party, all of the couples up for elimination are pleading their cases on like why to stay on the show. And during this cocktail party, Parisa is worried about her relationship and where she's at with Brian, and she basically wants to make the most of the night because this could be their last night. And Brian is more focused on pleading with Jeremy and Bailey so they can stay in the game, which that's what I would be doing. If $500,000 is on the line, I'm gonna be focused on trying to stay in the game. So that's where I get confused. Like, I don't think Brian was in the wrong. Like, it's tough because again, I understand where Parisa is coming from. Like, you want to focus on your relationship, but also at the same time, like, I would do the same thing as Brian. I would focus more on staying on the show versus just having a good possible last night together. But let me know how y'all would have handled it. Let me know below in the comments. And finally, for the rose ceremony, it's Bailey's choice to determine which two couples get sent home. Up for elimination is Parisa and Brian, Faith and Kim, and Leslie and Gary. And when they're pleading to the couples, like throughout the episode, they talk about strategy and who they should pick, yada, yada, yada. You should get rid of a younger couple because they're gonna be more competition versus an older couple. And personally, I think young or old, it really is not gonna make a difference. And if y'all wanna talk about strategy, me personally, I would keep Brian and Parisa. Y'all, they are a hot, hot mess. There is no way they would win that money if all of the challenges are based on relationships and knowing your partner. Like, they would blow it every challenge most likely. Anyways, so Leslie and Gary end up going home. Faith and Kim and Brian and Parisa end up staying. And when Bailey was making her decision, she pulled out all the dramatics and it wasn't even that serious. And that's all I got for this week's review. Please put your comments below. I'm truly curious what all of you think of this. And as always, if you enjoyed this review, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. And I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.